This is Eyeless Wilder, aka Wild with Wilder. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my anime nostalgia, childhood type vibe, in how it kind of informs a lot of my decision making when I am hunting for anime NFTs. So, when I was searching around, I stumbled upon this website called Org, which is apparently a Sailor Moon translation project. I don't know how old this website is, I don't know how new it is, but I love the concept and the fact that she took the time to scan in an entire Animerica magazine. Now, for me, Animerica came out in like the 90s as like the focal point of news surrounding the anime community. There was not that much insight or information that you got when it came to what's coming next because the internet was so new. It was mostly just people's Alta Vista pages where they took images of their favorite Dragon Ball Z art and different artwork and posted it up and put their own descriptions and what they liked, or where they would put things on their own GeoCities pages. Like, I remember trying to make one, and I kind of did it, but I never really had the drive for it or the tenacity to turn it into one where people will come back and read again and again. It was basically the invention of the blog, and we didn't even know it. So when we were getting our news, we needed to go to a source. And Animerica is a verified, bona fide source linking you back to the tapes that you're purchasing. So she scanned an entire issue. I think this is fire. Revolutionary girl Tina, very, very ahead of its time. On my list of shame, I've never seen much of it. My cousin had one of the OVAs. So that's like I've seen 2 episodes several times, but it's just one of those shows where it's like it has energy, it has gravitas. It's just super, super cool. Like the postcards, Fatal Fury at the top, Dirty Pair redesigned for newer versions of them. I had filled out one of these postcards, of course, so that I could have anime delivered to my home because I wasn't normal. Like, there was no streaming, guys. You got to understand. If I wanted to watch something, I had to buy and or rent a copy of it or borrow it from somebody who had also the same taste as me. I couldn't just go to any centralized place to have these discussions. It wasn't until like maybe 99's, early 2000s when forums existed and I found people like me. So these magazines become very personal and very like reflective of how like fantastical the mind could get when it's just kind of left to its own devices with a new hobby or maybe even obsession, if I say it, dare I say it. So look at this Pokemon box art. The I Choose You Pikachu. It's the first 1 or 2 episodes of Pokemon, maybe 3 if we're lucky. 1999, and look at the price, $14.98. And what's so crazy about it is that now I could just go on any streaming service. I can go on YouTube probably and find the episodes, but I still wish I had a sealed copy of this because I'm sure that'd be worth something pretty cool. But look at these prices. Meizani Koku, $24.95. Rama 1/2 subtitled edition. It's subtitled, so it costs more. $29.95. That's $30 for probably 2 to 3 episodes. Back to the Hopple side. This was an expensive hobby. And these magazines were how you would satiate when you couldn't afford to get a new, like, I can't afford another $30. Like, I don't have a job yet. Like, I barely get an allowance. So, like, yeah, I'm going to pay $5 or I'll ask for $5 to get this magazine, and I feel like I'm there. And then I go back and rewatch what I've seen 1,000 times in my old tapes. That haircut too, under Airbat's second strike, that's the haircut of like characters that you know are going to be feisty, where they have the pink and red ponytail. There's girl type Ranma. There is the character, I think her name is Hitomi from Magic Knight Rayearth. Here's another iteration of Dirty Pair from the late 90s, which I don't know if it really caught on. But even like the table of contents, it's just filled with nostalgia and joy and like just like the beauty of the design. So when I'm looking for anime NFTs, I'm looking for ones that kind of give me the same feeling at a glance. That's the first thing I look for. What feels right? What actually reminds me of anime or its created derivatives, as opposed to someone who's just taking the aesthetic. Wow, the chibi style. You even see like some Space Ghost down at the bottom, so if you want to know the era. I mean, just the artwork, the illustrated kind of like look that it has. There's no animes really like that anymore. It's too difficult. It's too costly. It's better to do it on the computer. But I still do appreciate the aesthetic as that beautiful throwback. The same way that Mega Man players like Mega Man 8 for the throwback. Gosh, look at that artwork, man. One of the things about anime too, why I loved it and why a lot of people like comic books, is because they're just a little bit more mature in their art style, realistic proportions, but still like amplified in certain areas, as opposed to the cartoony characters with the big heads and the only 3 or 4 fingers. Vision of Escaflowne is amazing. Amazing. I love that this is here. This is so cool. Look at the Star Wars anime at the top. Now, guys, I'm not zooming in because last time I tried to do that, it kept closing down the image section. So I want to make sure I can keep scrolling. But just kind of looking at these. So you have Slayers kind of in the middle. Those are a lot of fun. That's a fun comedy for those of you who don't know. And then I have a bunch of Battle Athletes tape. If you look at the bottom row, I have a bunch of Battle Athletes and Battle Athletes Victory VHS tapes. And then that's Final Fantasy next to it. A Final Fantasy, like Crystal Chronicles style story where they did this weird desert earth apocalypto style, but still, PG rated show. And these are some of the American creations that kind of fit a little bit. Man, this really takes me back. I'm I filled with so much just gratitude that she posted this, because it reminds me of what kind of thrilled my mental space when I was much younger. What excited me? What wonders were out there? And it reminds me to appreciate all of the little anime style things that I've kind of been around and been privy to. Like, this is one of the things that I always have a soft spot for, is when they show the character designs for what they're creating. I've always been really close to illustrators and different artists, and seeing their sketchbook is one of the coolest things for me. Like, if I were to ever, by happenstance, get a real Rumiko Takahashi sketchbook, that would be a prized possession. I love the Capcom art books that exist at the Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that. And I think I'm going to order that, or maybe Breath of Fire, and just kind of bring some of that artwork back in. But like looking at the Slayers and Gohan, and Lena is like in nice, clean, crisp lines, and they're going to paint it and colorize it. It's just wonderful to me. Look at how new Ava was. And man, Fushigu Yugi, the romance, the shoujo romance. There's a lot of like really like fun energy in here, because it's like you see what's all connected. Like if you look at the bottom left, VOE Anime Online, Super new, I'm sure. But look, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, right there, front and center, because he translates between the anime world and the video game world. It's a perfect bridge. So that's what I'm looking for. The translation between the anime world and the NFT world. A, that I can afford. B, that actually I think matches. Let me stop there. I don't want to say too much. Um, I love the artwork. I love the classic style artwork with the tinting and everything. And I never watched Earth Federation uh, Mobile Suit Gundam, like the first version. No, I'm lying. I did watch like the first episode, but that was really it on Hulu or Netflix or one of those. I've been finding with the streaming services, I've been using it to watch a lot of classic stuff that I wasn't able to watch when I was a kid. So Retro Crush, I think, is just amazing for that. And I've seen some fun stuff on there. It's the artwork. There's something about it. So one of the things too is they would take chapters of older anime or older manga and they would put them in the middle of these magazines. Now, when they did that, it gave you an opportunity to kind of expand your horizons a little bit and see space trains and like um, what was creative when or I guess where what you love kind of comes from, the history. It teaches you to appreciate what came before and maybe even fall in love with it, because there are some older manga that I love. I mean, just the aesthetic alone, it really takes me back. Now, there's a couple of other sections in here. Look at this artwork, man. They did their own rendition of Ranma in the Lum costume, which I think that looks like a Takahashi drawing. So I'm assuming that they just used it for their advertisement. Japanimaniac, how funny. We used to get pissed when people called it Japanimation, but we had to put it in a way that the average consumer would understand. So this is what I'm talking about with the proper proportions and the slightly more realistic designs for anime characters as opposed to just typical cartoon characters. Look at Utina on the left. She's sharp, she's polished, and she looks a little bit more mature. So if I see this, character's probably like 15, 16, I'm 12, I'm like, oh, cool. This is like a high school, like, you know what I mean? It has that energy. Team Rocket. I just loved the fact that she took the time to scan all these in. This is a huge gift. Um, just not having to search for it, but having it to hit you in the face like this, the vision of Escaflowne, man, that's a beautiful series. Part romance, part fantasy action. It really rides the line between showing us enough of the romance to get us pulled in and enough of the action to keep us on our toes. And it takes itself quite seriously. The tone is consistent. The style and design is just breathtaking. And what's more, it doesn't try to be anything other than it is. So it has its anime moments sprinkled in, but at the same time, it's its own thing. And that's one where, looking at this, I've been wanting to rewatch some fantasy anime shows, and I need to see if they have it on Retro Crush, to be honest, because I want to watch Record of Lotus Wars again, fully, for real this time. Pocket Fighters is that the Sega Saturn? So Pocket Fighters is chibi versions of Street Fighter characters in this like mini fighting game. So it was a game where you fought, but it wasn't like you didn't feel cool like when you're playing Street Fighter or Street Fighter Alpha. But man, it takes me back. Sega Saturn, advertisement, Street Fighter Alpha at the bottom. Yep, shampoo. And what's that dude's name? Not Raditz, but the other one. And you can see the era. You see Legend of Zelda. So N64 is out because that looks like the design logo for Ocarina of Time. Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. So we were almost to the good stuff. Marvel versus Capcom. Um, Rei Ayanami, Joy's animation. This really takes me back. I love this. So this was my favorite surprise of the internet searches so far. I had to share it with you guys. And this is another cool thing that happens in here is you could send in fan art and they would have a theme contest. They'd pick the winners. So this one's Halloween contest. So you see Ranma dressed as no, that's the girl from Magic Knight Rayearth. I recognize the sword. You see Rei Ayanami in there, tuxedo mask in the bottom right, and it's like those were the 20 or 30 popular shows that we had, and so everyone was doing artwork from the same shows, and now it's much more varied. But my cousin would always tell me that the artwork in the Japanese magazines was always way better. And it was always almost a little bit closer to professional than the American magazines. Now, I think that that's because they're closer to the source. So the style and the design is more emphasized. So people are actually getting that professional training before it became a known thing over here in the US, where you could probably find that quality of design from that same age group in the US these days that you can overseas. But we still had some good artwork in Animerica too, and some really fun submissions. And I love the three characters dressed as Wonder Woman for Halloween. I think that's really, really fun. And a lot of them are dressed as Sailor Moon. Ranma dressed as Sailor Moon, and Akane dressed as Tuxedo Mask, and Peach-Chan dressed as Luna. That's fire. Yeah, this magazine just has a lot of special memories for me. And it kind of was my introduction to there is a community, there is a world. I didn't quite know where it was, but it put me in some directions where I could try some stuff. So this Tenchi in Tokyo, which I did watch, but I don't remember that well. There's like a Animerica Extra down at the bottom, where if you sent in this card, you could get Animerica Extra, which is like chapters from different manga. Usually, a lot of them were romance mangas, like Fushigu Yugi, Video Girl Ai, Oh My Goddess. Big O is not, that's more noir, but that came eventually, and you could get one chapter for all these different ones per issue. Then the next issue, you get a different chapter. So you could kind of keep up pace with some of the manga. Clamp X was another one, but it's like it never was like the whole story, but it was still really fun to just kind of get like a snapshot of this other story that you could potentially get. So yeah, like Kimbo the White Lion, I thought when I was younger ripped off Lion King, but apparently this story came out, this animated version came out before the Lion King. They even have like a colorful bird friend with Kimbo the White Lion, but not the same story as the Lion King, but kind of thematically and artistically very similar. And you see the lion in the clouds, so it might be the same story. Look, that's Mufasa or Bufasa, whatever they called him. Giant Robo I never really saw. So yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing. I appreciate you guys taking that little nostalgia walk with me. I wanted to give you a little sense of where I'm coming from when I'm looking and evaluating these different anime style NFT projects. Do they give me that sense that this is anime or a descendant of anime? If they don't, I'm not as interested. And in the same vein, I want to make sure that I'm being fair and making sure I'm not just going just because of the nostalgia factor. Is there a story to be told? Do they feel like they can't stop drawing? And so little signs like their sketches everywhere, or oh, doodle of the day, or oh, those are good positive signs when they have to keep drawing because it's an obsession. So I want to get their early art because when people find out and when they get sucked in to these larger groups, there's going to be some positive increase there, in my opinion. So I got all NFT on you guys, but thanks so much for watching. I'm Ilex Wilder. We're going to do more of these nostalgia crawls. Definitely. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a great time with you guys. And I'll talk to you later. Peace out.